How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm very good. Better than I was before. Every day has its ups and downs.
Look at Alyssa Taylor today. You would never know that she had a brain AVM resection just 3 months ago. At 22 years old, the full-time student with 2 careers had to put her life on standby until surgery. When we sat down with her, she was able to give us a better explanation of what an AVM actually is.
So, an AVM in technical terms is called an arteriovenous malformation. Typically, the AVM is born in fetal development, and people don't know they have these until 20 to 40 years later in their life. The arteriole of the word refers to the tiny vessels within your body, and these tiny vessels pump blood slowly to your brain, to your lungs, to your heart, and it's very essential that it's slow. The issue with the AVM is that it lacks the smaller vessel structure that our bodies usually can handle. So with an AVM, the vessels become tangled, forcing the blood to try and get through a lot faster than our body can handle. And this can sometimes lead to unwanted bleeds within your body, and they were concerned with mine because mine was in my brain. With AVMs, it's oftentimes unknown that you have one until it causes traumatic pain. How did you know you had one? So I didn't know I had an AVM until someone actually noticed me having a seizure, which was in my sleep. I was lucky enough to be sleeping next to my boyfriend at that moment in time. He had heard me making a weird noise in my sleep, and then he looked over at me and I was completely blue due to the lack of the oxygen during the seizure. So after this, you knew something was wrong, that you need to go to the hospital. Yes, I was immediately rushed to the hospital by ambulance after the seizure had happened. I was kind of out of it. I didn't really know what was going on after the seizure. Unfortunately, they didn't do any further testing on me as a first-time seizure patient. They were kind of convinced that it was due to dehydration, that I should just follow up with my PCP when I returned home to Pittsburgh. I was smart enough to follow up with my PCP because I wanted to take those precautions just to make sure nothing was wrong with me. 3 days later, I had an MRI just to check my brain. I followed up with an EEG. The same day of the MRI, not even a half an hour after, I received a phone call from my PCP. And he was telling me about my MRI, and he said, "Alyssa, you have an AVM on your left temporal lobe." I will never forget that phone call, my mother's face. We just didn't know what to think. We didn't know what an AVM was, and anything having to deal with your brain is definitely scary. Do you think this diagnosis changed anything within your emotional or social life? I'm definitely not one to show my emotions, to show my anxiety. During this time of the diagnosis, I definitely showed this a lot more. I'm not the person to question to God, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why do I have to go through brain surgery to remove this AVM in my head? But during this time, I questioned it a lot. And I didn't want to be that person because I believe God has a plan for us all. But it was so hard not to question that. Describe what it was like on surgery day. The day of surgery was probably the quietest day of my life. It was quiet. It was overwhelming. I was scared. I didn't know if this was the last time I was going to see my family, my friends, my boyfriend, my younger siblings. I was scared I was going to come out a different person.
Alyssa shared this video of her very first steps on her road to recovery.
They had me up and walking 3 days after surgery. I did not move my legs for that whole time. I was sleeping within those first 3 days. No movement, no eating. At that moment when they start to get you up, you're in such pain. But watching those videos weeks later, you feel so humbled inside to know that you got through such a major surgery. I look at those pictures and I just feel so blessed of how far I've come. how my life was put into these doctors' hands who did such an incredible job and got me through this. They were so considerate of my hair. Being such a young female, they definitely cared about that part. I'm just so happy of how everything turned out, and I feel ultimately blessed. How have you been feeling within the past few months since your surgery? I feel like this was a restart to my life, a rebirth to a new beginning in my life. I feel as if God knew that I was running at 1,000 miles per hour, being a full-time student, having 2 jobs. I think He needed to tell me that I had to slow down, take in life a little bit more slowly, and appreciate the things around you. How has your family been during this road of recovery? They are forever grateful, like I am. I couldn't have asked for a better support system. They constantly ask how I'm doing, as anyone would, and it just exemplifies how much they care about me, and it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling to be loved and cared about, and I know everyone could agree with that. Amen, Alyssa. You deserve it. Thank you so much.